I really like picking mushrooms. In general, the forest has a magical effect on me. Fortunately, the story I'm going to tell didn't happen to me. This story happened in the early noughties. My husband then served as a district policeman for the first year. That autumn there were a lot of mushrooms and a lot of mushroom pickers who did not come out of the forest. Mobile communications were not yet well developed, so those who needed the help of the district police officer had to come to our house on weekends. On a beautiful Sunday morning, we were going to pick mushrooms. The doorbell rang alarmingly and for a long time. There was a couple standing outside the door. A man was carefully supporting his companion, and she was leaning against the door frame and sobbing incessantly. They asked the precinct officer. I realized that we won't try the mushroom soup today. The man quickly began to explain something to his husband, and I saw that the woman was really feeling bad. The men left, and I called an ambulance. The medics arrived quickly. Despite the woman's lack of documents, they provided the necessary assistance, diagnosed a hypertensive crisis and nervous fatigue. The woman refused to go to the hospital, asked for permission to wait for her husband with us. Of course, I don't like it when there are strangers in the house, but I liked her. She looks like my mother. When her health condition stabilized, we got to know each other and started talking. The woman's name was Vera. Here is the story she told. My husband and I really liked to go mushroom picking. As it turned out, my husband's name was Valerie. And you have good mushroom-filled places here. We never leave empty. So we gathered this morning. We arrived at a familiar place, parked the car and went into the forest. It was a good walk. The weather is warm, there is no rain, the birds are screaming. I collect mushrooms, we talk to each other, we don't go far from each other. I know these places well, I'm not afraid to get lost. Suddenly I look, someone is sitting in the clearing. A man, about 70 years old, is sitting in a raincoat tent, leaning against a tree. I decided to bypass him, and he tells me, "Daughter, go that way. There are a lot of mushrooms across the ravine." I don't know why, but I did, but he didn't even have a basket. I walked about 3 meters, looked back, and there was no one there. I shouted to my husband, and I heard him talking next to me. I went in the direction where the stranger pointed, and there really is a small ravine. I walked through the ravines and sang with joy, there are actually a lot of mushrooms. However, the smell was not good, putrid, sweet somehow. But the hunting excitement whispers its own, a mushroom, well, another one. It seems that the smell doesn't bother anymore. Suddenly I see a huge tree. Next to it another one is lying on the ground, and there are honey mushrooms along the trunk. There are so many of them that you can't even handle them alone. But the smell became even stronger. She shouted at her husband. Besides our baskets, we always take plastic potato sacks. You can fold them up. They don't take up much space, but they can be useful. I already imagined how much I would marinate and freeze honey mushrooms. I walk around the tree and see a man sitting, leaning against the tree, a tent-like cloak on him. I didn't realize right away that there was a corpse in front of me. And when she realized, she screamed so that her husband came running in huge leaps. It became clear where this unpleasant smell was coming from, but I hadn't smelled corpses, so I couldn't immediately figure out what it smelled like. There was a basket full of mushrooms nearby, rotten ones, of course. The husband tore his t-shirt and began to take notes on the bushes. I ran after him. When we ran to the car and caught our breath, I told my husband about the strange man. He looked at me strangely and said nothing. We went to the nearest village to look for a police officer. On the way, I felt really sick, and I suddenly realized that the deceased had sent me there himself so that I could find his corpse. Our men were gone until the evening. Vera calmed down and offered to cook soup from the mushrooms she had collected. The soup turned out delicious, but Vera couldn't eat it. My husband told me that he was a resident of a village 15 kilometers away from our village. He disappeared 2 weeks ago, went into the woods and never came back. It was impossible to identify him, but there was a note in his pocket with the address. The man was diabetic. Vera calmed down, only occasionally asked, "Why me?" "I didn't go out for mushrooms that fall.